Tonight, we are going to take a look at the brand new album from Gaerea entitled Loss. You know who's not at a loss for words? This guy. I got lots to say. Album review upcoming. Next. Welcome, metal enthusiasts, to a brand new episode of the Metal Dude Abides. Tonight, we are going to review the brand new album from Portuguese metal juggernaut Gaerea, entitled Loss. This would be the band's 5th studio album. Now let's tackle the elephant in the room right off the bat. Gaerea is technically classified as a black metal band because they started off as an extreme, traditional black metal band. But their sound has changed quite a bit. I've heard this band described in a lot of different ways. Blackened progressive metal, post-metal, metalcore, even maybe melodic death metal, blackened of course. So there's still some elements of black metal to their sound, but it's not a staple as it once was. Now, I kind of got turned on to this band a few years ago. I was compiling my very best albums of the year in 2024 and ran across this band and their album, Coma, and I really liked it. This was an album that came very close to making my top 20 list that year. So I've been kind of keeping an eye out for this band. And sure enough, in late 2025, as I was compiling all of the best songs of the year, I ran into their first single off this album, Submerged. And right away I was like, oh yeah, this is that band. Came so close to making the list the last time. So I've been eagerly awaiting the full album release. And sure enough, here in March of 2026, the brand new album finally dropped, and I was eager to take a listen to it. What I think of it? Well, let's go through this baby track by track. Alright, the opening track is called Luminary, and it gets the album off to a great start. I really like a good album opener. I think it's so critical for an album to get off to a hot start and set the tone, and here Gaerea hits the mark. About halfway through the song, it gets into this really heavy, crunchy riff. But this is where that brand new sound that we were talking about comes in, because at about the 3-minute mark, it kind of breaks off into this little interlude that has some whispering vocals that really adds a lot of atmosphere to this and intrigue. While this is a heavy song, this is kind of a departure right in the middle of the song that gives it just a little bit extra. I love the lyrics of this song. In fact, there's a theme throughout this album. I love the lyrics across this album. This is about being in love with, feeling comfortable with the darkness. But at the same point, you're being drawn to that light, that luminary. You are comfortable, but you know you're not where you need to be. You see the light, you're attracted to the light, but you're not quite ready to make the move into the light. Excellent start, A+ song to get the album off to a rockin' start. As I was saying, when I was putting together my best songs of the year 2025, this is when I first ran into this song, Submerged, the second track on the album. This is clearly an attempt at being a little bit more commercial, a little bit of synths at the beginning of the song, synthesizers again during the course of the song, but make no mistake, this is still a very heavy song, and I enjoy it quite a bit. And once again, I love the lyrics of this song because, again, it is pulling into a very important topic, and that's being pulled down by your past, being drowned out by past maybe mistakes, past relationships, you name it. Now, as a Christian, I often see a lot of new believers being stricken by this problem of you want to get your life together, you want to move into the light, as we talked about with Luminary, but you still got all these demons. At one point, he's talking about the shadows that he can't get away from. I think this is such a critical point for Christians or non-Christians alike to be able to let go of their past, live in the present, and look forward to the future. If you are struggling with your past, I have a great book for you. It's called Letting Go of Your Past. It's by a man by the name of Ed Taylor. He's the pastor of my church. Would be an excellent resource. Don't let the past dictate your future. You're too good for that. So far, this album has 2 fantastic songs, 2 very emotional songs with some very deep topics. Love the lyrics. Both songs are heavy. Both songs bring a lot of atmosphere. I'm loving this album so far. The third song of this album is called Hellbound. It has this very ominous start. Again, lots of atmosphere to get the thing rolling before it jumps into an absolutely thunderous, heavy song. This is a little bit of a tone change because where the first 2 songs were kind of had a little bit of a melancholy feel, maybe some regret, maybe you want to do better, you want to have more, but you're kind of held back. This is kind of the flip side of that coin. Unfortunately, this is where a lot of people get to in their lives, where instead of trying to fix the chaos, they just become defiant in the chaos and say, whatever, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, even though I know it's wrong, even though I know I could be better. I don't want to jump out of my comfort levels. So, there's probably those, different stages of grief. This is the defiant stage where I don't care. I know my life's a mess. But you kind of get that point of, I can't fix it anyway, so I'm just going to lean into it. Not the right way to go. Back to you can fix, you don't want to be tied down to your past, but you don't want to just accept it and become defiant in that past. It's about, I am not have any intentions of changing direction, even despite the negative consequences. I also think this song has some really good drumming. Not just the blast beats, but some kind of intricate drumming that goes along in the chorus. Again, we're 3 for 3 here, people. Track 4 is kind of the sequel to Hellbound. It's called Uncontrolled. First and foremost, I love the guitars at the beginning of the song, kind of wailing on top of all this chaos. And that's what this song is about, that chaos. Remember the previous song where we're just going to be defiant, and despite all the negative consequences, we're just going to keep plowing ahead through all the chaos? This song kind of describes the chaos. So these 2 songs really blend very well together and really set us up for the rest of the album. So far, we're 4 tracks in, and I'm loving every one of these tracks. And each of them is a little bit like, well, they're talking about deep emotional problems and how to cope with those. But here, track number 5 is a song called Phoenix. And it might just be my favorite song on the album so far. Because now we're talking about the next step. Rising up and triumphantly overcoming that oppressive past, that hurt in a relationship, like in the case of a betrayal by a lover, a friend, even an acquaintance. This is about overcoming that, becoming a brand new creation, becoming stronger, becoming, if you will, immortal, and escaping the flames. Again, as a Christian, I really relate to this song quite a bit because you can become a new creation. You can just say, you know what, I'm not going to be defined by my past. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to do so in such a way that I'm going to be stronger than I've ever been before. Now, as far as the song goes, the vocals here are sensational. Best vocals yet on the entire album. And again, we were talking about it with the past. I love the theme of this. There are no more shadows in my way. I'm going for it. This is a great song. If you are to just take my advice and try this album, start right here with the fifth track, Phoenix. Coming in at number 6 is Cyclone. And we're going to get a big time change of pace on this one because this is the first song that's going to start off not with a big, heavy, thunderous beat. In fact, it's going to start off very slow. Very introspective song, almost sorrowful in its tone. But don't get fooled by that because 1.5 minutes into the song, it's going to kick right back off into the kind of heaviness we were getting with like Hellbound and Uncontrolled. But here's a little bit of the difference. I think Hellbound and Uncontrolled, very heavy songs. But when you look at the last track, Phoenix, and now this one, Cyclone, especially because of the vocals on these two tracks, they're more intense. Some songs are heavy. These songs are intense and emotional. I feel right here, Phoenix and Cyclone, best 2 tracks on the album. This stretch of the album is really taking it to a new level. If you're familiar with our format, I'm always going to tell you my favorite tracks on an album, and I will always tell you my least favorite tracks on the album, although this is kind of an odd one, because my least favorite part of this entire album is a song, I believe, that's called Labyrinth. The reason I say I think it's called Labyrinth is because there's no vowels. It's like they took the vowels out, so it's LBRNTH. Now, what is Labyrinth, you ask? Well, let's put it to this way. It is about a 2.5 minute little electronic lead-in, prelude to the next song. And it's okay, but I really have to stop here and go, do I need this? Does this really add to the intensity of what's about to happen? Because sometimes a good interlude into a song is fantastic. The other thing that I really didn't like about it is because sometimes when you have those interludes, they kind of blend into the song. But here, and I don't know if it was just the way I was listening to it, but the song kind of ends abruptly and then goes to the next one. Even though you can tell by listening to both tracks, they are tied together. I will also say, while this is my least favorite, it's 2.5 minutes. It's harmless. It's no big deal. I wouldn't, get upset about it. And whoever the female is who is singing on this has an excellent voice. So I would say Labyrinth is my least favorite part of the album, but again, it's leading into a song called Nomad. And this, my friends, is my favorite song on the entire album. This song kind of gives me, now remember when I was trying to describe this band? This song gives me really strong Orbit Culture feels. And trust me, if you know the Metal Dude, you know that is a compliment. I think Orbit Culture, one of the best bands going today. Especially at about the 3-minute mark, they do some guitar work that just sounds so much like Orbit Culture. Really enjoy this track. Once again, lots of intensity on this track, a very fast track, a very heavy track. Again, this is an A-plus song. This is back to, again, the beautiful lyrics here, really talking about the theme of solitude and really just kind of moving away from the hurt, moving away from the problems. Really dig this song quite a bit. Definitely right up there as the number 1 song on the album. Wow, we're already at the closer. This album closes on the song Stardust. And it's very similar to the song we talked about earlier, Cyclone, in that it has a very mellow beginning. Which begs the question, what's going on? It seems like there is a new trend in heavy metal, that every band is closing on a very mellow song. It's like there must have been a memo out about 2 years ago where everybody agreed that this was going to be the new thing. I'm not really a fan of closing your album out on a slow ballad type song, but boy, that seems to be the way a lot of bands are going these days. Now, luckily for us, the song kind of picks up the pace a few minutes in, so it's not a traditional ballad all the way through. It does pick up very similar to the way Cyclone does. And this song, also, by the way, you're probably going to hear a lot of people compare Gaerea with Sleep Token. And at moments, you kind of see that comparison. Even though Gaerea is much heavier than Sleep Token, they are using a lot of the elements of Sleep Token. For instance, those kind of haunting, echoey vocals are here. You have that piano interlude here. And then when it finally hits that heavy moment, it comes in with kind of those buzzing, distorted, heavy guitar riffs, kind of like what Sleep Token does. Although I think this song is much more reminiscent of the Eden Sleep Token era than maybe the Arcadia era. It's kind of that same kind of approach. So if you hear those comparisons, you can come to songs like Stardust, and I think you'll see where they're coming from. Now, again, I'm not a big fan of these slow endings, but this does have a bit of an epic feel, and it's always fine to go out on a big epic like that. They really get into some nice riffage right around the 5-minute mark, and this song really ties in with the album title in that this song is really talking about the deep hurt of losing someone you care about, that you love, in your past. So it's an interesting way to go out. This is where there's a lot of emotion on this album. I love albums that are dripping with emotion. This thing, from start to finish, is an emotional, just tug at your heartstrings kind of album. And to close off, going back to losing someone, we've all been down that road, unfortunately, where we've lost a close friend, we've lost someone very close to us, whether that's a relative, whether, again, that's a boyfriend or a girlfriend, whether that's just someone you hung out with. I've had lots of loss in my life, and this song kind of brings that back. Pretty poignant here. So overall, this is, probably not exactly the way I would end the album, but a very good song, and once again, tremendous lyrics. So let's summarize this album real quick. Yeah, I'm not really a great poker player. I guess by this point you pretty much have figured out I love this album, one of the best albums of 2026. It has a really nice blend of heaviness, of atmosphere, of great lyrics, you name it. Now, if you are a fan of their original materials, or if you're just a fan of extreme black metal, this probably is going to be a bit of a disappointment. I think people that will like this are probably, again, more into like a blackened progressive metal or kind of a post metal type of atmosphere. Even, like I say, strange comparison, I know, but kind of that melodic death metal that you get from bands like Orbit Culture. I feel like this band kind of blends a little bit of Orbit Culture and a little bit of Sleep Token and kind of blends them in perfectly to kind of their own creation. Really dig it. Once again, the lyrics, off the charts good. Really dealing with a lot of heavy, heavy emotions. My best tracks on here, as I said earlier, Love, 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 Nomad, Phoenix and Cyclone together, tremendous. And going all the way back to that opening track of Luminary, love, love, love. When this album hits, and this album's good all the way through, but when it really hits on songs like this, it just takes it to a whole new level. The only thing I can say negative about this album is Labyrinth. Again, it's kind of meh. 2 minutes, I really don't think. If we get to a point, where I'm going to put these songs on a playlist, that thing's going to be the first thing to get pitched. But it's fine. Again, it's only 2.5 minutes, and it's got some beautiful singing, brings in some atmosphere. It's all right, but I don't know that I would have. I probably would have preferred another song. And again, what we talked about, Stardust being the ending, maybe since you're going to put this atmospheric, interlude in anyway, maybe you end it with Labyrinth and then Nomad. Maybe that's the way. Nomad, I've had all these issues and now I'm moving on with my life, that sort of thing. I think if you'd have flipped those two a little bit, maybe you'd get a little bit of better results. But again, every one of these songs, fantastic. I know that probably the hardcore black metal fans are going to disagree, but I think Gaerea has been improving, and this album is, in my humble opinion, the best album they've put out to date, and really kind of a stepping stone. If they can get enough people to listen to this album, I think this has the potential of moving them into a much bigger spotlight. I think this could be like one of those star-making type of albums that if you get enough people to listen to it, they're going to love it because it is great. And that's the episode. We've got a bunch of album reviews coming up. I know that Black Label Society, I'm very enthusiastic about that one also coming out in March. A couple of other bands that are, just about ready to release. We're also in the middle of our Grammy series. So you don't want to miss any of these album reviews. You don't want to miss all of these great content about going back in time to reviewing all of the different heavy metal from all the way back into the 60s into current day. So the best way to not miss out on any of this is to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. It helps with the algorithm. We want to get this out. We want people to be able to, just like Gaerea wants you to hear this album, we want people to be able to hear this and find out about great bands like Gaerea. I think heavy metal is about to go nuclear again. I lived through the 80s when heavy metal was the biggest music on the planet. I think we're about to see that some of these bands are leading the way to another resurgence where metal is going to be the biggest music on the planet. I just feel it in my bones. In the meantime, this is the Metal Dude signing off. Take care.